let's kind of bring a different subject but related. We have Hogan Gidley, former White House Deputy Press Secretary. He's Vice Chair of the America First Policy Institute Center for Election Integrity. And Caroline Downey, reporter for the National Review. Just a quickie. Jason Smith's coming on in a minute, head of the House Ways and Means Committee. He's a very smart guy. I assume he will oppose this. Why would Republicans want to go for a goofball deal that raises taxes, undercuts their own presidential candidate? I mean, what's wrong with some of them? Why is this?
If you're asking me to explain the political calculus of Mitt Romney, this is going to be a weird segment because that's very difficult to do.
There's not enough time. There's
not enough
time
to do it.
I would just drop it.
Okay.
We'll just drop the whole thing.
Good.
You're opposed to this fiscal commission.
Of course.
I'm just kidding. God, as Hogan. Caroline, serious matter. President Trump, terrific, brilliant Iowa caucus victory speech, and he's continuing that in New Hampshire. A very gracious, open arms when Governor DeSantis came around, when Senator Tim Scott came around. I think this idea of unity and unity based on success for the general election is a very powerful theme. People are not giving him credit for it naturally, but I want to get your take on it.
Larry, I agree. I think it's a refreshing change from his rhetoric of retribution against his political allies. And I also think his call for unity in Iowa is an appeal to moderate voters in New Hampshire, which leans libertarian, leans fiscally hawkish, not MAGA, not culture warrior, loves Governor Sununu. But beyond it being a good primary strategy, like you said, it's a good national strategy to lean into the big picture, to go on offense against the Biden administration, and honestly, to speak optimism about the GOP.
Hogan, you know, it's interesting. Joe Biden, who came in as a unifier, quote unquote, has been one of the meanest, most divisive, racial-oriented, I mean, everything, MAGA, lying, untruths, et cetera, et cetera. And I think what Caroline just said is interesting to me. I think you might even see results of Trump's graciousness and his unity theme in tomorrow's election. I have a feeling that independents, or whatever they're called in New Hampshire, I think a lot of them are going to go for Trump because they know the rest of the package is right on the issues. And New Hampshire is, after all, a low-tax state.
Sure, I think so, and I hope so. Live free or die is the motto of the state, of course. Everyone understands that. Here's what I would want to caution everyone on. I think Trump's message of unity is very important, and it's significant moving forward. You see folks who were with DeSantis now coming on board with Trump. You see DeSantis coming out and endorsing, as you just said. Here's what I want to be focused on and worry about a little bit, and that is those never-Trumpers out there. You brought up Mitt Romney, so I'm going to have to bring him up again. We were told the Huckabee wing, the Santorum wing, the blue-collar conservatives, we lost. It's McCain or it's Romney. Hold your nose, put in the work, because our policies and our way of life, the America First issues, are better in our hands than they are in the Democrats. These never-Trumpers, though, are looking at Donald Trump and saying, no, that's a step too far. And I say, excuse me, well, clean it up. To heck with you. Because we did that for cycle after cycle with your establishment elitist picks, and now you have someone who wants to push forth those American policies that improve the lives of all Americans, regardless of race, religion, color, or creed. Get on board, because what Biden is doing to this country is destroying it.
But they might not. They sort of never do. I mean, I've lived with this for 40 years. The first time I worked for Ronald Reagan, long time ago, in his budget office. The same crowd. I mean, Trump is the person who will stop the Washington swamp, okay? He will drain the swamp, or he'll give it his best shot. And he knows more now than he knew 4 years ago. He's learned. He's learned from his victories and he's learned from his defeats. That's my take. I mean, to Hoagie's point, I don't think the Romneys of the world, by the way, Mitt Romney is a friend of mine, even though we have some political disagreements, and McCain also. But you know what? So what? It's like Trump needs to just go straight ahead. Here's my position on the issues. America first, low taxes, regulations, border, culture too, Caroline. I mean, he's never going to win them over. He just won't. It's life, you know what I mean? It's life in the fast lane. Meanwhile, Hispanics, improving. African Americans, possible improvement there too. You see what I'm saying? He can widen the base without cowtailing to the old staid Republican establishment.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I think you're right that the growing minority coalition and all these other groups he's picking up by promising prosperity for all, that's a appealing message to a lot of immigrants, now citizens. And so they could become his supporters while the old wing, the Mitt Romney wing, they fall out of fashion. 1980s GOP is just not competitive in today's political climate. And I know you said you lived during the Reagan administration, but I think the Overton window keeps shifting on how much rot is infecting Washington. And so you're right, Trump did recognize there was a deep state, but I really hope this time around, if he does get elected, he actually cracks the deep state. His business acumen is probably the most powerful thing a politician can bring, because
And by the way, he is the best negotiator. Again, very much like Reagan.
The art of the deal.
Fabulous negotiator.
No question. We saw it, Larry.
Hogan, Gidley, and Caroline Downey, thanks to both of you.